Our brain is programmed to scan the threats from the environment. So it remains in hypervigilant mode and it keeps scanning the threats. And based upon scanned threats, it starts making its own stories. And based upon those stories, we feel fearful and we start avoiding the situation, places, person, and we feel, oh, we are living in a very threatful environment. But is it true? Or it's just a game our mind is playing with us? Let me explain. My dear ones, I'm Dr. Kashika Jain. I'm a clinical psychologist. In this video, I will explain how your mind make you fool. But before I explain, I want you to download my mobile app. Just type my name, Dr. Kashika Jain. You will find my mobile app where you will find so many useful, amazing meditations and breathing exercises. Experience those beautiful meditation and do breathing exercises on daily basis. Now, understand. Our brain is now incredibly evolved, but it has two modern downsides. Your brain believes in the better safe than sorry policy, and your brain doesn't understand the difference between imagination and reality. These two are the modern downside of your incredibly evolved brain. Now we are not living in that era where threats are so common, we are worried about our survival things like basic needs. We feel safety about our basic needs. But now, lots of new threats are introduced. But we live in a safe zone. We have our own houses, we have our safety networks, we have family, friends. So, our brain still believes that external threats are there and it keeps scanning the threats from the environment. Even if someone is looking at us, our brain interprets it as a threat that that person is not just looking at us, it is that moment where that person is staring at us. That person is making assumptions about us that I'm not looking good or something wrong with me. So your brain assumes and start making a story, and your brain presents you that story, and it is called mind reading. It's a distorted way of thinking. And sometimes we feel, oh, I'm thinking this way. But my dear, you're not thinking that way. Your brain is programmed to do that. It's really a big confusion where your mind is doing all this. And you are thinking that as you are doing it. That's an automatic thought. That's the auto creation of your mind. Sometimes your mind works in your favor, but sometimes it starts working against you. So when it produces these kind of distorted thoughts, so surely it is working against you. And if you are not capable of catching those distorted thought patterns, so you feel miserable, you feel negative emotions, you are in that moment manipulated by your mind. So understand, you need to be wise enough to catch those distorted thought patterns. You need to understand that your mind is working on the better safe than sorry policy. And because your mind works on the better safe than sorry policy, so it has a nature of making assumptions, it has a nature of making its own stories, and it doesn't want to miss even a false alarm. It loves to rather set off 10 false alarms than missing a real danger. So due to its nature, it starts assuming things. Sometimes your mind make assumptions about the situation, people, or your goals, or about anything. Or sometimes your brain loves to predict about the future. Sometimes your brain start making stories based upon your past experiences, and it generalizes, and sometimes it forecast, and sometimes it goes into the what if scenarios. What if this happens? Because life is uncertain, and that's the beauty of the life. But your brain start thinking in that way, that what if this happens? This is something irreversible, but what if this happens? You won't be able to reverse that action. So because of that, your brain always tries to engage you with its own creation. And if you fail to understand that this is the modern downside of your brain is still following the old outdated policy, then you get manipulated by your mind. So understand, catch it. You're not supposed to believe on each and every thought is presented by your brain. You need to be wise enough to witness your thoughts. Understand, thoughts are just thoughts. Thoughts are mental events. You're not supposed to believe them blindly, because your brain has a nature to assume based upon your past experiences, and it has a nature to create the stories. And once your brain create any story, it present you, and it forces you to believe that story, and it forces you to take action upon that story. But when you train yourself to be wise enough to just witness your emotions and thoughts, and you stop taking actions based upon those assumed stories, then you win the game. Then you somehow give feedback to your brain, hey, I am wise enough. I know what you are trying to tell me, what you are trying to do with me. Stop it. And when you don't act upon those stories, when you stop believing your brain blindly, then you feel real freedom. And now let's talk about the second downside of your modern brain. Your brain still can't make any difference between imagination and reality, because when you simply imagine something, your brain believes it is happening in real, and neurons gets fire, and those neurons gets fire, they wire together. So your brain believes it is not just happening in your imagination, it is happening in reality. So it is start giving reactions even on the imaginary things. So it's like a blessing as well as it's a curse, because sometimes your brain start giving responses, very immediate, quick, impulsive responses to those things, situations, or assumed scenarios where it doesn't need to give any reaction. And it stopped listening to your cortex brain. Your cortex brain is that part of the brain which is capable in thinking rationally, which is capable in making decisions, analyzing, which part of the brain knows what is right and wrong. But in the case of danger, or even in the false alarm or imaginary threats, it stopped listening to the cortex brain, and it start giving the responses even to the imaginary threats when actually there is no real danger. So it's like a blessing as well as it's like trouble for us. Because why I'm saying it's a blessing, because when you want to create any reality, you can use this amazing feature to create that reality first in your mind, then it feels so easy to create it in the external environment. So when you close your eyes, when you relax yourself, when you start engaging all your five senses, and you create some scenarios the way you want it to be in your mind, and you engage fully all your senses, you add visuals, you add sound, you feel as if it is your reality, then your brain believes, oh my god, it is happening in real. And you add a very good experience which you really want to be happen in your life. And in your imagination, when you create this experience, now you feel more confident to perform the same thing in the real scenarios. So it's like a blessing. It's really a blessing. But why I'm saying it's like a trouble, it's like a curse, because Your brain doesn't know that you are assuming or you are just living it, and it also don't interrupt you when you assume something negative. So here again the question arises, you assume negative, or your brain forces you to believe, or forces you to think in negative way. So sometimes your brain, based upon its assumptions, based upon your past experiences, make you believe to think something negatively, to assume some negative scenarios and create those visuals. Even if you are thinking something negative, you are creating some negative visuals. So even then, that gets stored as memory in your brain. So we need to be wise enough to use our imagination very wisely, because whatever we assume, it gets stored as a real memory in your brain. Every time you recall something, you basically reconstruct that thing. And the more you repeat something, more you think about something, more you visualize about something, your brain believes that is really very important for you, and it start believing even your imagination as truth, and start giving the same response as it gives to the reality. So you need to be wise enough when you are using your imagination. So your imagination works like a knife. You can cut fruits from the knife, or you can cut someone's throat from the knife. So it's not the fault of the knife. It depends totally upon the user for which purpose he wants to use the knife. So imagination is like a blessing. Use it very wisely, because your brain, whatever even you imagine, your brain believes your imagination. So these were the two modern downsides of your brain. Although your brain has incredibly evolved, so well evolved to detect the threat from the environment, but due to these two modern downsides, still your brain creates problem for you. My dear ones, you need to understand, you are not supposed to go into a panic mode immediately. You are not supposed to believe your brain for everything. Just be the witness, just be the observer, because whatever happening in your body and your brain, you are the one who is witnessing what is happening to your body and your brain. But if you identify yourself with your brain and your body, then all the miseries starts, then all the trouble starts in your life. So stay disconnected from your body and mind. Just be in the role of the observer, the witness. This is the key to be happy, to live a worry-free life. And that's all for today's video. Now, a small request, I want you to share this video to the maximum people, so that what my purpose is to educate the people. So you will help me to serve my purpose. And I thank you in the advance to share this video. If you are new to this channel, please do subscribe this channel. I will see you in the next video. Till then, take care.